Right, so quick video on my solar panel, my give energy system, the pros and cons. Can't see any cons really, to be fair. What we do with our excess energy that you can't guess. So I watched the short clippets, I've put them all together. Hopefully it explains everything. If I've missed something out, let me know on the comments. So while it's quiet, and hopefully the drill won't start next door, this is what the building looks like. Okay, so this is the pub, this is the office, and you can see, you can't see the panels, right? Okay, so we'll talk about the panels in a second, but you can't see the panels. So if you walk along here, I've hidden them with all the plastic. You can probably just about see, I'll do a bit of a zoom in. See it there, okay? We'll walk up the ladder in a second. There we go, the banging. So let's just walk up the ladder. So I don't have to go very far here to do any work on them. And voila. So these panels, okay, are not almost laid flat. So they're at 4 degrees so that the water runs off them, and underneath here's a rubber roof. Okay, so I can take these panels off relatively easy. I'll just have to unscrew it with my screw with whizzer, and this'll come up if there's an issue with it. Unlike if it was on your roof, you know, 2 or 3 stories up. Unfortunately, this is scaffolding to do any maintenance or any work, so this solution really works for me. The other thing that we've sort of discovered is this is south facing this way. Okay, the sun comes up here, it goes like this. Okay, so sets over there, and we're always generating power all the time. So when I'm waking up in the morning, it's already generated an hour's worth of energy. It can be quite small, it could be 200 watts or something like that, but it all piles it into the battery, takes the base load from the house, etc. So this system appears to be absolutely perfect. I can't knock it at all. These panels, each panel is 380 watts. So there's 10 of them, so that's 3.8 kilowatts, apparently at maximum. They're all on one string. I thought one string because when we have no light at all, or hardly any light, it's still generating something. 100 watts, 50 watts, 25 watts. As the sun's going down, it's always generating something, and it takes it off the base load of your house. So if it's not doing much and it's 300 watts and you're producing 150 watts, that's 50% of, you know, your usage just being used from these. So see if our friend's there he is. So let's talk about what happens around the meter area. So this meter is being changed tomorrow for a smart meter, just so you know, the energy company stops asking for money. All right, so I'll have to pay just the standing charge, and hopefully they'll get rid of that. So on this one, we've got a little wheel. Can you see it there on the left hand side next to the square? So that prevents the meter going backwards. Okay, so this is solar compatible as this one. So providing, we see the meter not moving at all there, right, okay, just twitching a little bit perhaps. Providing we've got energy in the battery, we keep it at 3.6 kilowatts, this will never move ever, unless you produce more than the 3.6 kilowatts. So if we're producing, we need 4 kilowatts, the meter will supply 400 watts, and the battery and the inverter and the solar system will provide the 3.6. So the trick is not to put the washing machine and the dishwasher on at the same time, and of course the oven. So that's how you stop this little baby moving at all. So the plant room. So I'm just going to open the door now. here's our system. Okay, so I'm going to explain it to you now. So let's talk about the battery first. Okay, so it's 9.5 kilowatts. They reckon it's supposed to be the perfect size for the average home. It is proving to be the perfect size. That's all I'm going to say. You can keep adding on batteries after batteries. There's a string there, just keep adding them on, so you can have loads of them. 5 or 6 50 60 kilowatt system. Perhaps if you had an electric vehicle, you'd want to store it in a few more batteries and then load shift it over to your vehicle at the appropriate time. I can't see how having your vehicle parked here and granny charging it in would work great unless you had a third car or a second car as backup, which defeats the entire object. So here's our inverter. Okay, so on the left hand side, that will kill the power to the house. Just need to turn it to the left. And on the right hand side there, with the on and off switch, that will isolate the solar panels. Again, if you need to turn them off for whatever reason, probably maintenance. Okay, the aerial connects to the Wi-Fi, gives us the data. We have the 2 strings in the middle for 2 sets of panels. I prefer my 1 set, so we're always producing, even if it's micro, and you know, hardly anything at all. I would prefer it to produce all the time. So if you split it into 2 and it's a shady day, you might not get any energy at all, so it's better to be on 1 string in my view. So here on the left hand side, the battery cables will enter. Okay, so it'll just go through here, and that's it there. Okay, that's for, there's a switch there in the middle. Okay, so that switches or isolates it as well, so you don't, apparently never switched it. And then this is where your solar connections can go in there, string 1 and string 2. Okay, then we have the incoming here, which is 4 mil. Okay, cable, and then a 4 mil cable that goes out. Then this goes to the doomsday system. So the doomsday system is the grid goes down and the system shuts off. But if you had, for instance, in here, or if this was near the front door, then you would have all your lighting on there. You would have perhaps a ring, you know, where your fridge freezer is, you'd have that circuit on. You'd have your gas boiler on. Okay, that doesn't use much. And possibly an upstairs circuit, and if you're brave enough, possibly a living room circuit. But providing it doesn't draw more than 2.5 kilowatts. So this is why you just put your emergency stuff on there. So this cable would go back to the front door, and you'd have a separate unit. So the next one then would be, for instance, fridge freezer, lights, the circuit that ain't using much. What you wouldn't have it on, obviously, is the kitchen, all the heavy appliances, and for instance an electric shower. Okay, so national grid failure only. So instead of me doing that, we've just got a socket here. Okay, because I really don't think we're going to use the scenario isn't going to come up. I really don't think so. If it did, we do have power here. So that's that. So at the moment we are going to send energy back to the grid. Okay, so if you're happy doing that, then that's fine. They don't tend to give you much money for it at all. It's hardly anything, so there's no point getting too excited or having too many panels. So you could, we've got other videos on it, send your excess solar to a hot water tank or a hot tub or something like that. Okay, this is currently, it's ready to go, it's red hot. but I just refuse to send the power back to the national grid and then they charge next door. That's where it's going to go into it, or the neighbours, the full rate, and give us next to nothing. So a lot of us who are in the solar community are thinking of ingenious ways of using up your excess solar, and here's one that I think is quite clever. So there are some other videos, like I say, explaining how we do it. We won't talk about that today, but check out the other videos. So the system is waterproof. Apparently you can leave it outside on an outside wall. So of course, fine, that's cool. I just wanted to put it in a brick outbuilding with a roof on and a door to hide the system. And you know, I want it. If 99% of the rain doesn't hit it, then I'm a lot happier in this you know, plant room, as we call it. Okay, so it's all sealed. They did break a seal, the installer. You can see a bit of white sealant there. There was a hole and it's been filled in, so I was a little bit annoyed, but it is what it is. And again, I can't see any water getting in there. I think I'm more worried about sort of condensation or damp or fog, as we get here in the UK. Some sort of like a cloud that's on the floor. So yeah, so that anyway, it's filled in, so we're not going to have any issues or problems with that. So in the winter, of course, we're going to have less daylight hours. We're going to have not as much sun. It does still generate. It's not as good as a beautiful sunny day that we're having at the moment. So you could, this system might, I don't know, we'll have to just see, but I hear rumours of it will produce half your energy for the house. It's still a 50% reduction, and of course, you know, you're only going to be doing this for, is it 2 or 3 months out of the year, something like that, and there'll be the day when you get nothing at all, which of course just take it from the grid. If you do your calculations throughout the year, you'd now cut down your energy consumption by, I don't know, 85% throughout the year, and you'll use load towards the winter perhaps. So it's a win-win without a shadow of a doubt. The battery, when it gets low, it keeps 4% in reserve to look after the cells and look after the battery. So, you know, it's all good. The most this system has produced in a day is 20 kilowatts. We were unable to use it, so 20 kilowatts in one day. The battery was fully charged, and the house load, which was like 300 watts or something, just ticking over, nothing exciting going on. So that's what it produced. It produced 20 kilowatts, and it sent it back to the grid. So let's talk about the other way that a lot of people, what they're doing is they're just installing the system without solar, okay, and the idea is that you then take from the grid at cheap rates. So for instance, 2 in the morning, instead of it being 44p a kilowatt, it's you know, 9p. So all you're doing is you're load shifting and helping out the national grid, and then you get to run it cheaply. And there's loads of people doing that, and the system does work in reverse. You in the morning, your battery's fully charged. By the evening or night time, it's gone. Oh, thank you, Mr. Builder. He stopped drilling. Yeah, so what happens with me, of course, I wake up in the morning and I'm almost flat, and then the sun comes out and it feeds the house and slowly tops the battery up. So they do work, the systems do work totally separate. Some people have got some solar panels and they do a bit of both, so they'll charge the battery up 50% and then use the rest from the solar. So there's sort of 3 ways of doing it, thinking about it, yeah. But I'm just happy just getting the free, well, it's, you know, getting our energy from up there. So yeah, more than happy. The cost of the system, 12 grand. something like that, for a professional installer to do it. This isn't without the brick building. These are resalvaged bricks I got for nothing. Even the roofs I got for nothing. Had to buy I made the door. Had to pay for the timber and some screws and my time. What I've spent on the system is £7,000. Okay, so 7 and 12, do your calculations. The lower the cost, the faster the payback of the system. The inverter's got a 5-year guarantee, the battery a 10-year. I've worked it out that in, I think, 4 years or something like that, it's paid for. And then, of course, the solar panels, they last 20 something years, the battery 10 plus, just swap it out if we need to, get another one. Inverter, just phone them up and get them to fix it, I think. It's £150 call out, unfortunately, but you know, we're not, if you've tried everything, then you're just going to have to get the expert out, aren't you? There's no way around it. So just like to say thank you to Andy, who helped install this section of the system, and he did it as a favour. And yeah, thanks a lot, mate. Awesome. So yeah, I don't think I'll be doing any more. That's all I'm gonna say. So let's talk about the app, what we can see here. So we had a bit of a cold start this morning, which what I mean is it was really low, the battery, okay, because we used a lot of power last night. So we haven't used any from the grid, but the time now is 10 to 12, so it's almost dinner time. So obviously you can see at the top there's a picture of a solar array, okay, and it is, at the moment it's nice and sunny outside, and we are generating 2.7 kilowatts. Okay, so what then the system does is it goes into the inverter, and the picture of the house, as you can see in the middle, is what the house is currently using. So it's not using anything at all. It's using 280 watts. What is that? It's going to be the fridge, freezer, okay, the Wi-Fi, that sort of thing, the things you don't normally turn off. There's nobody in today apart from myself, so there is no washing machine on, there's no you know, heavy item like a water tank or a what they call dishwasher, right? So that's not on. So then we look on the right hand side, which is the national grid, okay, so that is this is a snapshot of what happened 5 minutes 38 seconds ago, okay, so it's a micro piece of data, so you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Sometimes you get a bit of a silly reading, not all the time, but occasionally. So the national grid, you would normally get, it'll either be 0, 5 watts going one way, 5 watts going the other, sometimes goes a little bit higher. That's if we're running completely off solar. Now the inverter is 3.6 kilowatts. So if you can keep your house below 3.6 kilowatts, it'll always use the battery or the system. But if you switch on too many appliances, which happens, and it's just what it is, it'll draw the rest from the grid. So for instance, let's say it's using 4 kilowatts the house, the inverter will supply the 3.6 kilowatts and it'll only draw 400 from the grid. So it's a fantastic system and it's a great buffer. Although we do try and keep it below the 3.6, okay, just like to do that. So on the left hand side there is a picture of the battery. So what that will do now is the system will give the house what it needs and send the rest to the battery for later on when we need the power. If the battery gets to 100%, which it can do, and of course we've got excess energy, it then sends it to the national grid, and you'll see that it will say we are now sending 1.5 kilowatts to the national grid, which is on the right hand side. So hopefully that explains what you're seeing here. So also in the other settings there are, you can see, for instance, when you exported any energy, sends it to the national grid. When you sent it to the battery, how much the house has used. There is a history from what happened in the past on the app. Okay, so I think it's good to look back, you know, a week, or you know, the following, you know, yesterday, what happened yesterday, and it will show you here. And you know, the sun coming up, you get like a dome effect, and of course each colour is coordinated there. So the battery was drawing at that point, and then obviously we had excess solar, etc, etc. So the pub is currently closed, but don't worry, it'll be open soon. So I'm just going to show you what we have over here. So here is our consumer unit, and the cable will come from next door, okay, and it will come into this C20 switch, okay, and that protects the system. And the rest of it is as you know, it's just your normal stuff, which has to be sockets in the shed and the lights, you know, the RCD and the main switch. Now this is the beast I want to talk about. So it's a transmitter, and that'll transmit all the micro information from the clamp it's on near the meter at the front door. I believe this will transmit a signal 8 kilometers, providing there's a clear line of sight. We are 78 meters, and once this was set up after an hour of messing, then we have had no problems or issues with it, okay. So very bespoke. A lot of the installers are frightened to death putting these in. They prefer to have an easy installation, which is basically a data cable right next to the front door and where everything's happening. But with this particular situation, as you know, I've put the panels on, of course, the roof here, to keep them out the way, so that they're not unsightly. They're out the way, you can't see them. And of course I wanted the plant room outside, away from the house, in case there's an issue or a problem. And I'm not saying there's ever going to be one, but if that lithium battery was to catch fire because of a manufacturing defect, then, you know, it's away from my main house, and hopefully it won't burn this pub down either. It'll just contain itself within the brick, you know, plant's room. So that's what's going on in here. So here is the receiver and the sender again on the left hand side, and of course that little thing next to it on number 14, that is basically a smart meter, but it's my own. So the 2 switches down, 12 and 13, are just spare. So perhaps we'll put an electric car on that, or we don't know. Nothing wrong with having a couple of spares. So as you can see, it's just the normal consumer unit, and this is at the front door. Exciting stuff, isn't it? Haha. So this clamp is reading what's going on, how much we're using all the time, and that goes back to the it sends all the information back via what we just had it's the receiver and the smart meter. It's telling the system what's going on. Put that in the wrong location, all hell breaks loose, as we found out. So we're at the end of the video now. It's 1:10 in sunny Manchester, and if you can look at the graph now, we are charging the battery and we're sending it over to the grid. That's how quick the system can fully recharge from 8 o'clock this morning. So it's absolutely awesome. I'm gonna have to put the hot tub on, so please leave me comments, good or bad. What did we miss out? Put it in the comments. Really happy with the system. You can see the home dashboard, it's updating every 10 seconds, okay, so that's totally live. So okay, cheers, thanks, hope you enjoyed the video.